Tendlewood School is a school for autistic children and young adults, and we have set this podcast up to provide our pupils with a fantastic opportunity to develop a range of skills whilst interviewing top sportsmen and women from a variety of different sports. Joining us today on the TWS Sports Podcast is a professional footballer. He played for the best team in the world, Wolverhampton Wanderers, and is now a football pundit. Welcome to the podcast, Matt Murray.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
We like to start our podcasts with some random questions before we start talking about your career. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Far away. Always born ready. Come on.
Who is the most famous person in your phone book?
Oh, in my phone book, good question. Got a few decent names in there. You ever heard of Steven Gerrard?
Yeah.
So Stevie G, Robbie Keane, Paul Ince, Jeff Stelling from Soccer Saturday. Is that all good? Magic, Paul Merson. So a lot of people really from the football world. Don't think I've got any celebs outside of that's not football. I've met some, but I haven't. Yeah, so I'd say they're my big dogs. Jolie and Lescott, people like that. Yeah, they're my big guns.
If you could trade lives with anyone for one day, who would it be and why?
Oh, that is a good question again. So loads of sports stars would always love to be a musician, sorry, if they could, or an actor, something like that. So often the actors and the musicians say we'd love to be a sports star, and vice versa. So look, he's a little bit older than me, but my favourite actor of all time is Denzel Washington. So I think he's a cool cat. So I like Denzel Washington. Or if it was a musician, it would have to be Drake. Imagine just selling out a stadium, everyone rocking, or walking into clubs and people, to your tunes. So be either of those would be people I'd love to trade places for one day.
If you could go back to one day in your life, what day would it be?
Oh, some special moments. It's hard to narrow it down to one. I think if you said a sporting event, it'd have to be the playoff final. I love the playoff final. 2003, been at Wolves since the age of 9. In my time, the club never played in the Premier League. So to be part of that team with those mates and all the lads that we came through with the youth team and some top plays, and knowing what it meant to the fans. So that day in 2003, Millennium Stadium, that would be my sporting event, the playoff final. That was amazing. I'd love to relive that moment. And then on my personal life, I think the day I've got 4 children, so the days that they were born, you can't separate the one. I'd get in trouble for that. But that's a magic moment as well when you become when you're a dad and you hold your little baby for the first time. So some special moments. What I'd say, those would be the ones that I would love to relive, if you like.
Thank you for answering those questions. Let's chat about your career.
Okay.
We want to take you back to the beginning and talk about your childhood. What are your memories of growing up, and did you always want to be a footballer?
Yeah, ever since I can remember, I wanted to be a footballer. My background's probably a little different to most. So I was adopted from birth. So both my parents are white that adopted me. So my ethnicity is half English, half Nigerian. They also adopted another lad, 14 months older than me, and his biological dad was from Barbados. His biological mum was English. So special people, but academic people. Not mad into sport, but I've always loved sport. Always, and they said from wherever they can remember, I always kicked a ball about. I played every sport I could, and then so always played football. Played in goal for my Cubs. And the reason I had to go in goal was because I was a big little brother. If I wanted to join in with my brother's mates, I had to go in goal because no one wants to go in goal. They all want to outfield and this and that. And then so I went in goal, was okay. And then a scout was watching us play and asked me to go to trials at Wolves. This was when I was 9 years of age, playing for Lichfield. And my coach was doing he was an apprentice at Wolves at the time, so he called academy scholars and all that now. And he'd asked scouts to come down and watch. They liked me and 2 of the other lads, But when they knew my date of birth, that I was actually playing a year above myself, then that made them even more interested. So I joined Wolves at the age of 9. Always said I wanted to be a professional footballer. Everton was actually my team because my stepdad came into my life when I was 6, and he loved Everton, whereas my adopted dad wasn't mad into football. So I love Neville Southall. You'll be too young to remember Neville Southall, but he was a hero of mine. But yeah, and just worked my way through from the age of 9. But you always used to say to the teachers, "Oh, what are you going to be when you're older?" "I'm going to be a footballer." "Okay, yeah, but what are you going to be?" And so I did. I was lucky that because my parents were academic, I concentrated on my school side, but that was my dream. I always wanted to be a footballer. I worked my way through 16, so schoolboys, you're always trying to get a new contract. Actually, I wasn't that big. I know when I've walked in there and you go, "No, I'm 6'5", but Wolves were worried that I wasn't going to be 6 foot, and because I couldn't look at my parents to say, "Oh no, I've got big granddad or big dad or mum or whatever," I didn't know. So, but luckily I came back one summer and I shot up. So I used to eat the fridge, feet grew first and I grew and all that, and then you just work through summer first. So you sign like apprenticeship forms, YTS forms at 16. Signed my first professional form at 17. I was sitting on the bench for Wolves first team at 16. But so it just worked my way through. But yeah, being a footballer was always my dream and my ambition.
We have listened to a podcast you did a few years with goalkeeper Paul Robinson called "Show Racism, the Red Card." You talked about growing up and having to deal with people being racist. What was your experience of this, and has football done enough to get rid of racism?
I think racism is an issue in society, but yeah, I did face racism, and I look back at it now and I think there's a lot more help and a lot more support. How I dealt with things, and again, might be because I was adopted, so I grew up in a very white environment, so all my family were white. It was me and my brother were the only two, anyone in our family that had, that were, that obviously he were both mixed race, so it was hard. Sometimes you didn't know how to deal with it. Your parents taught you the best way to deal with it and the comments to say, but they probably didn't always know how it felt. But obviously very, very good and brave, strong people to adopt two black children. But yeah, I did it. I received a lot of racism. Some of it was just ignorant. Some of it was, physical attacks on me, just literally for nothing else but my colour. Probably one of the times I talked about in that Paul Robinson podcast was these lads from a few different schools are after me just because of my colour. That was it. The only reason that all the fighting started was because of my colour. And I was at primary school, so I was a young kid, and it was scary. It was scary that you're walking along and then you're singled out. No other reason. I am walking home with all my friends and they want to attack me just because I'm black. And it's like, well that's not fair. So then when you're a young kid, you just want to be with everybody else. So it actually makes you think, I wish I was white, and then I wouldn't get attacked, or I wouldn't walk to play football in the playground and the older kids go, "You can't play." Why? Because you're black. That's it. No other reason. But these are my mates. And he's the best player. Okay, can't play. You're black. And that was it. All the time. I can remember the first game I played, 9 years of age, and you can probably feel the emotion because it hurts. And then you had to just get on with it and sort of, if you reacted, you had a chip on your shoulder and all this stuff. And if you're fighting, because, which I would never advocate, but sometimes you have no choice. It was literally, I had some fights that if I didn't fight back, they just beat me up just because of my colour. And these kids are older than me as well. So I was at primary school and the secondary school kids would all come and wait for me. So I'd had a fight. Basically, someone beat up my mate because it all started in the playground. Basically, I went and played football. You can't play because you're black. All this stuff. My friend had come from inner city Birmingham with lots and lots of black friends. He stood up for me, had a fight with the boy. He beat the boy. So then, when he was walking home later where he grew up, in his area, all the kids from the estate beat him up because he basically fought for a black person. So then, a bit later, I'm walking and they're going to get him again. So I've said, look, well, you want me, so I'll take the fight for him, which I didn't want to do, but I had to do. I won the fight. The kid's older than me, and that was it. That made my life hell for so long. I didn't tell anybody. I didn't tell any teachers. I didn't tell my parents. And they used to send bikes out for me trying to find me. And I can still remember this day, I'm playing at Shawbut's Lane in goal, and they've surrounded the pitch. So I'm playing, 9, 10 years old, 10, maybe 10. Definitely not at secondary school. I know that for a fact. So maybe 11 at the oldest. And all these kids from the estate around, and they've got all the bikes, they've got everything. But lucky, and I still remember his name, was called Ian Townsend. So he come and stood by my goal. He said, "Man, whatever you do not walk that way. They've got everything blocked off. Every alleyway is blocked off. All the kids are there, and they're going to get you." Okay? So I was thinking, so I was just stood in goal thinking, this final whistle's going to go, and they're going to get me. That's all they want to do, they're going to get me. Did I go and tell my manager? Don Astle, who's still got a season ticket here now, who I love to bits, who took me to, I didn't tell anyone. So I walked miles and miles and miles all the way home to get back, and as I say, they didn't catch me. And then they waited for me after school, followed me, and I had another fight then because they got me, and eventually my brother went to their school and ended up making friends with one of their brothers, and it just all got squashed. But that was some of the most terrifying times, and the only thing was because of my colour. So it was really, really difficult, and that's why I would say to anybody now, you speak out, you don't do it, but that's why you're so passionate about it, because you don't want other kids to go through what I went through, and it's really, really difficult. But even when I played for England under 21s, I played in Italy, played in Slovakia, monkey chants everywhere, but it was totally different to now. Like then we just used to roll our sleeves up and we'd go and beat them. That's all we'd think, we'll go and beat you. And then don't swap shirts at the end, don't whatever, we'll go and we'll get on our bus and go home. Whereas now people walk in, they'd beat things over the tannoy, they might stop the game. They'd also ask you how you feel. But no one ever asked us how we felt. And it was like, yeah, you've been racially abused, yeah, you've been called a monkey and this and that. But you just have to get on with it. So yeah, unfortunately, I experienced a lot, but do I think the game has done a lot? Yeah, I do. I think the game's changed. I think I had a black coach here called Terry Connor, and what he went through from fans in England, we didn't really receive. And then now, what we went through as young players, England players of today wouldn't be accepted to be stadium bans and be fines. It's a reflection of society, but 100% there can still be more done. But football, I think, is a very, very good way of, not only for racism, but just for diversity in general, is making a real difference.
What is your memory of being in the Wolves Academy?
The Wolves Academy is just, I loved it. It was the best. And you talk about racism and diversity. We had, so Jack Hayward was an owner, so he owned the Bahamas. So we always had like black staff around. We had female coaches, Asian coaches, black coaches, just so diverse. Jez Moxey's wife was black. So I never ever saw, I just always thought if you were a good player you got through, and it was so many lads, and we had a really, really strong youth team. So a year above me was Robbie Keane and Lee Naylor. We had Keith Andrews and people like that. Adam Proudlock in my year, we went and played in the first team. Below was Jolene Lescott. There's so many of us that were around the first team. So it grew, it developed when we were here, but they really valued you as a person, not only as a player, and they put values into you. You knew the history of the club and why wherever you go on holiday you always bump into a Wolves fan, because of, you know about the teams where there was Billy Wright, Bert Williams, people like that, and the Mike Bailey era. So you knew the history of the club, you knew it was a huge club, but the aspiration was to make the Premier League, and that was it. But they wanted to bring young players through. So yeah, just amazing times. I loved playing my Sunday League football. I loved playing for Wolves in the academy. And you asked me at the start, any times you could go back. If there was one day here and there, but the actual time of your life, if you know what I mean, is when you're just a young footballer. Your body doesn't hurt. You're just desperate to win. You're desperate to play well. You're desperate to express yourself. And there's not any other pressures. It's just going out. And you don't think, we're 1-0 up. If we win this, we go there and blow the final whistle. When you're a kid, you're gutted when that final whistle goes. You just want to play. So, so my Wolves Academy days were just amazing. And I'd love to relive them for sure.
You made your Wolves debut against Wimbledon in 2002. What are your memories of that?
Wow. And again, every player remembers their debut. I'm telling you now, if you go and speak to Cristiano Ronaldo or Buffon or whatever, everyone knows when they played their first game. And obviously when you come through, I've been at Wolves since the age of 9, so you want to get a new contract, then you want to make each age group, and then you want to get on the bench, but your ultimate is to play. It's just to make your debut. You want to be a first team player. A lot of my friends had experienced it, had done it. So I had a really, really good pre-season. I trained well, I felt good, I was in a good shape, I'd done well the season before. Always a little bit of a dodgy knee, do you know what I mean? But I was okay. And we played a game, and Michael Oakes had got a knock. So he was meant to do a fitness test on the Saturday morning of the Wimbledon game. But on the Friday, so played really well in reserves, done all stuff. Dave Jones just named the team. And he said, Matty will play in goal. And I was like, poof. And you just feel, and all the lads look at you. And I'm thinking, all right, I thought Oakes was doing a fitness test tomorrow. So then you've got an amazing excitement. But at the same time, I used to get very, very nervous. And I wish I had the coping strategies that I've got now when I was younger. So I thought, okay, right, I'm playing tomorrow. It's my debut. It's Wimbledon away. We're a top championship club. I need to do this. So get off. Then all the lads are, Jolien and all that. They've already made their debuts, and when it's one of the new lads coming in, you're all that little bit nervous. So they've done 4 or 5 games. They're okay. So you go off. You're like, ring me stepdad. And I rang my dad. I'm playing, but my dad was getting married. So my dad's like, I thought, so he couldn't come because he's getting married on the Saturday. My stepdad was like, I'm there. Sort of a few tickets, friends come down, but it was a weird one because it was a time when Wimbledon knew that they were going to become we're going to become MK Dons and move away. So the fans had stopped going as a boycott. So we probably had as many away fans as they did home fans in Big Selhurst Park, at Crystal Palace play. So that was the ground. And about 3 minutes in, I'm picking the ball out of the net. I've already conceded. So I'm thinking, wow, is this what it's all about? I'm all pumped up, wanting to do whatever. I don't think I'd let a goal in the whole of pre-season. Corner come in, bang. I'm like, wow, here we go. Anyway, we ended up losing the game 3-2. I did okay. Then Oaksy was back for 1 game, and then he got injured, and I played the rest of the season and ended up getting promoted. But so you never ever forget your debut. Love my home debut out here. Lost 1-0 but got man of the match. And again, when you're younger, you sort of just take it all in. Once you've played a few games, it just becomes like, this is what we do. but in the first time you play in front of a full Molineux or away from home and the crowd's up, it's probably see it again. You are doing, for me, you said it, for you said the biggest club in the world or the best club in the world. When you come through and you love this thing, you do feel like you are doing the best job in the world for a club that you love, and the fans love one of their own. So amazing times, but we're bittersweet, if you know what I mean. I made my debut, but we lost the game.
That was a great season for you both, personally and as a team. The season ended with you winning the playoff final and getting promoted to the Premier League. What are your memories of those playoffs?
Yeah, wow. I said, I've been at Wolves since the age of 9, and we kept missing out. So Jack Hayward had put so much money in. We'd lost in the playoffs the year before to Norwich in the semi-finals. I remember times out here when I was a young, probably similar age to you, we'd lost to Bolton, we'd lost to Palace. There's a time we'd finished 2nd in the league, but only 1 team ended up automatic. It was like everything was against Wolves to go up. So once he'd beaten Reading in the playoff semi-finals, I thought, right, we're over that hurdle. we went down to Cardiff a couple of days before. Again, I was a little bit nervous. Big game. There are people like Paul Ince, Dennis Irwin, big players. They played for Manchester United. They played for their country. They'd won the biggest prizes out there. So you had like a really nice blend of a team, youth and experience. But you play the semi-finals, and it's like about 10 days to the final. You're just like, oh, you know, like your kid waiting for Christmas. It's like, just get the game here. Sorting all the tickets, you could see what it meant to the city. We'd had this siege mentality, so we trained at Molineux every day. We spoke to no press. We'd meet the fans, but that was it. No one, because the year before we'd said a few things that had been used against us. So we thought, no one. This is our bubble. This is what we're doing. We sort our tickets. We do the stuff. So we went down a couple of nights before. So I'm nervous. I'm thinking, I can't sleep and that. So obviously I spoke to Paul Ince only the other day. He's Reading manager now. He said, we knew you were nervous, big man. That's why we come to your room. So they all come to my room. So they got Paul Ince, Nathan Blake, Darren Campbell, who's a sprinter, Olympic sprinter. They all come to the room. I'm thinking, I just need to sleep. You need to leave me alone. They're drinking a little bit of wine. They're chilling, doing other thing. They're all relaxed. I'm thinking, how are these guys so relaxed? Then it was like a £50 million game. You know, it was worth so much to the club to go up. Never been to Premier League. Darren Campbell's like, how are you, pal? I'm like, man, it's this game and this and that. If I make a mistake, he said, whoa. He said, have you just arrived here? Or, you know, or have you got all the tools to be ready to play? I said, well, he said, I train for 4 years for an Olympics, and I've got 100 metres to run. It takes me about 10 seconds. So I do 4 years work for 10 seconds. Then I have a few days, and then I've got a 20-second race, because I've got the 200 metres. If I false start, or start badly on that, my 4 years is gone, done, and I've got to wait another 4 years. He said, right. He said, so, but like you, go to training, get up in the morning, live, breathe sport. Your parents made all those sacrifices to get you there. So it's not like you haven't got the tools and been on the journey to be ready for this final tomorrow. But if you sleep well, you eat well, you do all your preparation, you know where the penalties are going and this and this, then you're going to give yourself the best chance to succeed. And that's all you can do. And do you know what? If you do have a bad game, let your mum and dad still love you. Okay? It's not life or death. You go out there, so be the best you can be. Go and do it. I had the best night's sleep. It was all good, and I went into that final. And I remember doing a walk in the morning. You know, you're looking around and you go, I'm glad I'm in this dressing room. We got this. Everyone's on that, focused, but in that zone. And you get the bus, go in, you have your pre-match meal. I like routine. I love routine. Don't like superstitions, but I like routine. Routine and structure for me is very, very important, and it's the same with a lot of athletes. They like routine, they like structure, but you have to get that balance, because your routine can be disrupted on a match day. Does that make sense? So I like to go out at 55 minutes before kick-off. I like to do 10 volleys, 10 half volleys, do you know what I mean? But if I lost count, I'd rather do one more than one less. If I've done so many dives to my right, I like to do the same to my left. I've got all these things. I put one boot on before the other, and it's just a routine and a thing that made me get into it, listen to the music and all that stuff. But you have to get not too held up on that, because your coach might be caught in traffic. There might be crowd congestion, so you do your normal warm up and then they send you back in for 15 minutes and you got to go back out. And these are all the things we don't like as a sportsman. Does that make sense? But you have to be able to deal with those tools. So we get to the ground and you come round the corner and it's just red and white shirts everywhere. Sheffield's United everywhere. Where's Wolves? And then suddenly you go around the next corner and it is like a sea of gold and black. And you even see like Paul Ince and Dennis Irwin going, okay. And they've played for, Manchester United, Liverpool, Inter Milan. Ince's played the World Cups, everything. But they're like, okay. You just looked at it as a lads and thought, we've got to do it today. And then you do your warm up, do your stuff, and got some nice early touches. 3-0 up at half time. Can't beat that. Half time, a few of us thought as young lads, we were up, and the senior boys said, no, we start the second half well, we just bore it, kill the game, get promoted. And then they got a penalty right at the start of the second half, and again you look back at it and you go, it's great. I worked on penalties because Michael Brown had taken them all season. We thought we might face him in a penalty shootout. So I just followed that routine of what I was going to do in the penalty and showed them a little bit more to my left, and there's nothing better, honestly, when you're in goal and you see that penalty and you think, I've got you all day, and yeah, save the penalty. So it was really nice. So to see what it meant to the Wolves fans, to play with so many lads that you've been on that journey with from a young time, from a young age, a long time, and to know that I was part of the team that had the first time in the Premier League was awesome. So look, I had a lot of injuries, lots of bits I'd love to change from my time at Wolves, but for a debut season, you don't get much better than that. It was awesome.
Is getting promoted via the playoffs the best way to go up?
I think so. I've been involved with squads that have gone up automatically. So I think that if you, on one way as a player, if you go automatically, you get more time off, you can rest up, you know where you are, and for the club as well, they know. So for example, it's just gone up automatically now, Bournemouth and Fulham. So they already knew once they were automatically done, they can start saying to signings, I want you, I want you, I want you. Whereas Huddersfield and Nottingham Forest are going, if we go up, I want you. But if we don't, I can't take you. Do you know what I mean? So you're going to be behind the queue, you're lower in the queue on some of the number one targets, if you like, because maybe Fulham and Forest want the same person, and Fulham going, we can do it now, we can do it now. Well, if you don't give us an answer today, we're going to take our second target, and Forest are going, come on, just wait. Does that make sense? So from a club's point of view, you want to go up automatically, but for an actual day, it's amazing if you go up. But it's nothing worse when you lose in the playoffs and you've done all those games, stayed behind longer than everyone else, and then you're just back in the championship. It's like, come on, man. But when you go up through the playoffs, it's a good day.
I want to take you back to the 11th of March 2007, Wolves against West Brom. You won the game 1-0 thanks to a goal from a former guest on our podcast, Jay Bothroyd. You have talked about this being the best game you've ever played in. Why was this game so special?
I think it was special for a number of reasons. So in that summer, we lost a lot of our big hitters. So Paul Ince, Jody Lescott, Kenny Miller, Lee Naylor a few games in. So we lost Mark Kennedy. So many big names are gone, and it was like a new identity to Wolves. So instead of buying the big name players and doing that way, we were bringing the wage bill down. Everyone tipped us for relegation that season. Mick McCarthy came in a few games before, Glenn Hoddle had left. There was so much transition. So we worked our way through, and I said to you before, I've been at Wolves since the age of 9. We always used to lose to the Albion, always. Even when we were the better, so-called bigger club, and we always lost to them. And when you lose to the Albion, it's the worst. It's the worst. It's horrendous. Okay, you have all that build-up for Derby Day. So as a young player growing up, I always wanted to play in the Black Country Derby. Been on the bench, been in squads, but hadn't played. First 2 games, we got absolute lesson. It was men against boys. They beat us 3-0 at the Hawthorns, and I thought, I didn't turn up. Then they came and beat us in the FA Cup. Again, I thought, I'm a big man here. 25 years of age, 26 years of age. I'm one of the main boys in this dressing room. Both times, nah, I've not performed. We played out on Molineux in the FA Cup, and the Albion fans took all that end. So they moved our hardcore season ticket holders, and they sold you seats for a pint and a pie and all this stuff, and all this stuff's going up. And they left Tesco carrier bags all on the seats that were Albion fans, because Wolves fans sing a song about the blue and white stripes with Tesco carrier bags. And they were all doing the easy clap, easy, easy. I'm walking off thinking, we've just been absolutely humiliated. So I went into that game, I've never been so focused in my life. I was like, no chance am I getting beaten today. I had the best week's training, and also it meant that we were on a good run. If we won that game, we actually went above them in the playoff spots. So you always felt, if we get the win, consolidate our place in the playoffs, and also let's give these fans something proud to play for. So it was one of my best games because I felt I made saves, just felt on point, kept a clean sheet, and it was nice to say to a few of those fans. And when you grow I live around Lichfield Way. I was in Sutton Coldfield then. I knew a lot of Albion fans, and I knew a lot of them would be. I think they were along the side of the pitch. So I'm thinking, yeah, man. Okay, you've been giving me a bit on the school run the last 2 times. Suddenly they're like dodging and hiding behind bushes. So yeah. So that's why it just meant so much, and I just loved that game. Loved it. And then when Jay Bothroyd scored that goal, there's some famous commentary from Tom Ross, who does a lot of the radio. And he said, I think the biggest cheer for Jay coming on is from the Albion fans, because he's like that. Even though we knew what a good player he was, and then a minute later he smashes one in the bottom corner. And trust me, when you are down on that pitch and the goal goes in, the place erupts and the noise is it's awesome.
Out of West Brom, Aston Villa, Birmingham and Shrewsbury, who are Wolves' biggest rivals and why?
Has to be the Albion. Yeah, I think that Shrewsbury and Walsall don't like us so much, but I don't think we see them as much as a rival. And I always want them to do well because they're local, and I'd like them to do well. And never really been in. We had a little few games when Walsall were in the Championship and when playing against Walsall, but don't really. Walsall and Shrewsbury would be like pre-season friendlies for me. Villa always see themselves as the biggest club, and they won the European Cup, and they talk about that, and all Villa fans love to give you stick, and they always felt that they were the biggest club in the Midlands, but again we finished above Wolves, we finished above Villa, so that's nice, and we've beaten them quite a lot recently, so that's nice just because of how much the bit of a changing of the guard, if you like. I think under Steven Gerrard and the ownership they've got, they're going to be right back at it. But it has to definitely Albion. Albion is the one that whenever you, when you join Wolves and when you're in the system, Albion are the ones that when you got to kick off, the roads are shut 3 hours before. You have to get in early. You know what it means to the fans. You know the build up to the week, as I say, you have to do loads of interviews and you can just tell what it means to the fans. And any of the players, especially now you have more foreign players, once they walk out for the warm-up, if they didn't know what it meant to the fans, they soon know. And you saw what happened, didn't you, even with the 23s playing. Like, we saw that our allocation. So 100% as a Wolves man, the Albion are the ones we have to be.
Do you want number 10, Tom?
Okay. You have played with some great players at Wolves, such as Paul Ince, Dennis Irwin, Les Scott, Dave Edwards and more. Is there a certain player that stands out as being the best you have played with, and why?
But all amazing players who've had amazing careers for different reasons. But the one that I played the most games with that I felt affected the games in a way would be Jolene. I just think Jolene Lescott was an amazing person, amazing pro. They all were great people. But Jolene was the best he could be every single day. And the fact he had the injuries he did at such a young age, but still went on to achieve what he did. He studied the opposition and took real pride. So if he was playing against someone who was quicker than him, like Theo Walcott, and you had to play him. If he was someone strong like Jason Roberts or Andy Johnson or Bobby Zamora, I don't know, whoever he played against, he just loved it. And that's why he played for England, won the Premier League, won the FA Cup. So all amazing people, all amazing pros, but I think Jolene was the one that, as I say, had the biggest impact. And every year I played with him, he was player of the season, fans player, players player, all the opposition feared him. So yeah, Jolene Lescott.
After 2003, you only played 5 games for Wolves because of your injuries. How frustrating was it to have so many injuries in your career?
Yeah, so after 2003 I went 5 games in a few seasons, and then I had another season where I played 40 odd, nearly 50 games in the Mick, but then broke my shoulder again before the playoff semi-finals, and that is the hardest bit. So if we could go back in time and know that how to manage my body and not have those injuries, so that's a bit. If you lose form or you're not working hard, you can do something about it. When you don't trust your body and your body breaks down, it's not robust enough then, and you're listening to what everyone tells you, don't drink, you go, stay in, and you see other lads who aren't taking it seriously but they play week in, week out, then what might have been is probably the hardest bit. Very, very honoured to have played for such an amazing club and experienced what I have and played with players that I have, but the injury bit is the hardest bit to deal with, and I had to do a lot of work with psychologists over that. Probably looking back at it again, if I was playing now and I went through that, there'd probably be more support and more realisation of what I was going through. But yeah, that's the bit that, you know, you walk down the playoff steps, you've just been promoted in 2003. What does it feel like to be a Premier League goalkeeper? That's what you're doing. You're on holiday with Robbie Keane and you're looking, going, when do we play Tottenham? We're going to play against you, and you're thinking, when I'm going to Old Trafford and Chelsea and Anfield, all the things as a kid you want to do, and then bang, another injury, and yeah, you only get one career, so to have that taken away is difficult, but it's life. Life isn't fair.
Mentally, it must have been very difficult to deal with so many injuries. How did you manage to cope with it mentally?
Yeah, I did do work with psychologists and that, but probably look back now, as you said, maybe you could have coped with it better. Used to try and work really, really hard, so go in the gym, and there used to be pictures of me up in here, and I didn't realise how big I'd got. So because I wanted to feel like I was working, it wasn't conducive to being a footballer. So, you know, at the playoff final I was 98 kg. I'd come back from injury and I'd be like 105, 106 kg of just pure muscle. I'd be on holiday, people thought I was a boxer. I'd get that big. Go out with the rugby lads, I was bigger than them. My mate played for Bradford Bulls, I used to go massive, and it was like an addiction. You know what I mean? I had to feel like I was working and doing something. So I definitely would do different work in the gym. And I look back at it now, and there were times I didn't want to get out of bed, or I didn't want to go in, or I didn't want to speak to friends, and probably was a bit depressed because it's again and again and again, and scared of things. But I had a really good family around me, the club were always good, and my little kids, man. My little kids just kept me going, and yeah, lots of cuddles from my little princesses, and they didn't care, because it's part of your identity to be a footballer. When you haven't got something to look forward to on a Saturday, then you can end up, you still have a lot of time. You have the money, you have the time, but you don't have that focus and that discipline, so it can be trouble sometimes. And then you get embarrassed as well, because you want to be, you're a professional goalkeeper, and you played on Saturday because Albion and this and that, but instead it's, you're injured, and that's not a nice tag to have. So yeah, some difficult times for sure.
A brighter note, Tom?
The 2006 to 2007 season for you was a great season. You won a number of awards, such as goalkeeper in the Championship Team of the Year, Fans Player of the Year, and Wolves Player of the Year. What do you think this year was so good for you?
I think that it was, on a personal note, it was brilliant until I broke my shoulder for the playoff semi-final. I couldn't believe it. And I think that I was coming into the age where I knew how much I love football, and when you've had it taken away from you for so long, you don't take it for granted. You're a little bit more mature because you've got kids, and I don't know, you just grow up a little bit and you get more of a mentality. I was one of the older ones in the dressing room, even though I was only 25, 26, because of all the change. And Mick McCarthy was just amazing. Just, you have certain people in your life that just bring the best out of you. So yeah, it just felt amazing. It was just on a roll. I was managing my body well, doing all that stuff, and yeah, just is in the zone. And I just think it was all the stuff I'd learned along the way, how to train, how to manage my body, how to train to play, not play to train, so when to get the loads right, doing my gym right, doing stuff with psychologists, all that stuff. So yeah, and just felt in a really, really good position. And just every week I just walked out for it, and so it's nice when you get recognised with those awards, but missing out on the playoffs was a killer, and obviously didn't get promoted, but it's a lot of positives that season.
Sadly, that season didn't end bad for you, as you broke your shoulder in training that day before you played off semi-final against West Brom. Again, this must have been so hard for you.
Yeah, so if I had a crystal ball, I just wouldn't come for that cross. So it was literally, I trained as I played, and he got a massive game. We talked about beating them 1-0, all these awards, player of the season, team of the season, golden glove, everything. I'm like thinking, yeah man, let's have it. Semi-final, I want to step out there. I felt like I could be the man. And Mick just said, defend this corner, then you can go into this little small-sided game if you wanted, which I'd have just walked in from, I wouldn't even have done. I thought, right, I'll just come catch the cross. And then it's done. I can walk in, I'll get ready for the game tomorrow. Cool. And I came and I took the cross, and 16 stone coming towards a young lad. I thought, I don't fancy this. He made it back like that. Caught the ball, flipped up, bang, spiraled down on my shoulder. I thought, oh, wow, that hurt. So I just dropped the ball and said, Gaffer, I'm going in. And I thought, I'm struggling. Just like it's a mad feeling through you. And he calls you humerus. So where the top of you, and I had a stress fracture in my foot, but I'd never broken a bone, ever. Like all the impacts I've had, everything, and I had that injury, I never broke a bone. But I say apart from a stress fracture. And I just walked in, I went to the doc, I was like, Doc, I feel sick. This pain is just boom, boom, boom. So it sent me straight into Birmingham to see a leading shoulder specialist, scanned it, and he went, you've cracked your bone. I'm like, okay, so if we inject it and we take the pain away, well, I'll be alright, because I just feel it's the pain. I can play with a broken arm, we just need to get rid of the pain. It's only a crack, it's not gonna. He was like, no, you're 25, 26. You've got to get through one game, then you've got to get through the second leg, then you've got to get through a final. So you're 25, 26. How can you, with a broken arm, you can't even move it? Like, I couldn't even do that. Couldn't do that. How can you do it? You know, he said, no, if you land again, your whole shoulder's just going to go. I can't with my medical thing. So he had made the agreement that I wouldn't play. I had to go in a sling. But we weren't going to tell Wayne Hennessy because he was only 19 years of age and his debut for Wolves was going to be in the playoff semi-finals out there against West Brom. So we just said, I just rang Wayne and I said, be ready, big man. Shoulder, I'll get through it, but just in case. He was like, okay. So he had a really, really good night's sleep, and I rocked up in the morning and I said, like, all the best, big man. Then do you think? I'm out, I'm done. And that was it. And Hennessy went on to have the career he did, and obviously we lost in the semi-finals, and I worked really hard all summer on holiday, got fit, did my cruciate about a week before the season started, and Hennessy went and played every game, and again that was training, overtraining, one more cross, boom, landing back of the net, cruciate gone. I did my cruciate. I always remember I did my cruciate, my agent rang me the next day. Oh, hey big man, had a really good season, everyone's talking about, I think we've got a couple of bids coming in from the Premier League, Wolves are looking for this and that. I said, I did my cruciate yesterday. He said, what? I said, yeah, did my cruciate yesterday, I've just got the results. I was like, wow. So it's life. Not that I would have wanted to leave Wolves, but at the same time, these things happen. So you are where you are, but it certainly didn't have much luck when it came to injuries.
Yeah, you're speaking about your broken shoulder. At the moment, I've got a fractured ankle.
Oh wow, okay, yeah, I've been in one of those boots before. How are you finding that?
Oh, well, it's pretty hard to walk on, obviously.
Yeah. You got crutches, have you? Or?
No.
Okay. So how did you do that then?
Well, let's just say I hit something pretty hard.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it just...
And it broke, yeah. And then it's all that like, why did I do that? Do you know what I mean? So if you could literally just wind the clock back just a few seconds before you did that and not do it, it's the same. So when I had the stress fracture of the foot, so I had to sleep in one of them. I had to sleep in it. So I used to put like some, like a bin bag around it or whatever, so it didn't mess up the sheets. But again, when you had an injury, you didn't mind doing your left leg because you could drive your automatic. But when you had a right leg injury, it was like, oh mate, I had to survived my missus driving for 6 weeks and all that sort of stuff, and that lack of independence. But I just hated that, not even have to go and get a drink or anything, when you're on crutches. But so I feel your pain.
Yeah.
I know how you feel, man.
Yeah.
Why do you think you did get injured so much? Because you do not hear of goalkeepers getting so many injuries. Were you just unlucky?
Yeah, I was unlucky. Certain keepers, it's strange that lads around my generation did. So Stuart Taylor had a stress fracture his back, Rob Green had a stress fracture his back and got managed in certain ways and then had no problems. Chris Kirkland had injuries, Bywater did his wrist, so we were all from a similar age. But Ben Foster did his cruciate a couple of times and he had a stress fracture his navicular, but he was able to come back. I think some of it with me was I grew very, very quickly. So I left school at 16, just turned 16. and I was 6'3" and 86 kilos. Within no time, I'm 6'5", 6'6", and 98 kilos. I never ever got a day off. So I can remember one of my days was in the morning, train with the first team. Stayed behind in the afternoon, train with the under 18s. Quick shower, bit of food, and I was on the bench for the first team. That's ludicrous. I'm 16 years of age. Like, why am I getting no sleep? And it was like every day, because people needed keepers. And on my mentality, I've got to work harder, I've got to work harder, I've got to work harder. So, because I was following so many programs, and everyone used, where now they would look at the load and go, whoa. You're growing like this. You see I've got long levers, long arms, long legs, all that stuff. And also when they rehab you now, they make sure you hit all different scores and tests. And that's what it was. So it felt like it just damaged all different bits of my body, compensating for other bits, because I was a big, powerful boy, getting no rest, doing the wrong stuff in the gym. And unfortunately, a physio that was really, really good, I met too late in my career. So he got some games out of me, but I would say it was mismanagement when I was young, which is why, because my voice didn't break till I was 15. So I was late, so my maturation was late. But you'd all do the same stuff, but I'd actually be, even though I was just 16, I'd be doing the same work in the gym as men. It's not right. So that's why I think I had the injuries, and then just rushing back, and sometimes just bad luck as well.
I want to show you a few messages that we've received from some of your former teammates. So go and contact a few former teammates of yours, and I asked them to describe you in 3 words. So, stop. Jay Bofford.
Saw Jay the other day doing Sky.
So, great keeper, amazing keeper, great person, and lucky due to injuries. And he said he can't think of any stories right now, but I bet he has loads about me. Overall, love Matt, he's a top man.
Yeah, so I saw Jay the other day doing Sky. Really, really good guy. Some good goals. Lovely left foot. So he loved scoring past me, because he knew I hated letting goals in. So I always remember the goal he scored against the Albion, and the one he scored live on Sky away at Leeds was just unbelievable strike. Right in the last minute, we won at Ellen Road. That was good. Remember when he scored a goal, came on a sub, scored, and he ran past Mick McCarthy a couple of years to say sort of like, how you leave me out. Next thing, his numbers up, and he got sub back off. So it's like, come on, Gaffy, and this like squeaky voice. But Jay was a good guy, really, really good player. But I always remember one goal he scored past me in training, and we were just laughing his head off because it was an unbelievable goal. Really, really enjoyed it. He'd always sit in the treatment in the middle of the dressing room as well, holding court. So yeah, Jay was a real character, good player, good lad, and I wonder if you asked Jay the question, does he feel that he fully fulfilled his career with all the ability he had?
Well, we spoke to him a few months ago on the podcast, and yeah, he said no. Because I know he obviously was with Arsenal, wasn't he? And he had a bit of fallout with the youth and
went to Coventry.
So yeah, I think I'm a Cardiff fan, so I've watched Jay at Cardiff, and at Cardiff, him and Chopper were just brilliant.
Awesome, yeah.
But yeah, I think he said he regretted his kind of the way he left Arsenal and stuff like that. So
yeah, because he had all the ability in the world. But okay, yeah, Jay Boffer, a good guy.
So Paul Robinson, so Paul said, Matt has one of life's good guys. He really is. He's a gentle giant who was extremely unlucky with injuries. He could have had a career at a higher level for much longer.
Yeah, so I remember playing against Robbo when he was at Leeds, and he actually played in the second half, played up front with Alan Smith for Leeds when we were schoolboys, because his kicking was amazing. He shot from the centre circle, and no one at that age could kick a ball that far, and he could. Obviously he had a fantastic career. Knew him well through Robbie Keane when he was at Tottenham. Obviously he's probably only a year older than me, Robbo, so again, when there's young lads that you know that are playing, you watch them. But yeah, it's kind of Robbo, because I'd love to have been able to stay fit, and maybe if I'd have got in the Premier League or kept doing well, could have had a little fight with him for that England spot. That would have been nice.
This is what I'm looking forward to. Matt Jarvis. Ask him what we did when I first joined Wolves while we were injured. Spartan, big friendly giant.
So again, everyone's saying big friendly giant. So you can see there's a lot of gym time, and yeah. So have you ever seen the film 300?
I have.
Yeah. And they're all ripped with their six packs and all this stuff. So we all went and watched it. and decided that we wanted to be Spartans. So yeah, she went online. You could do Spartan training, how you'd get yourself ripped and do all this stuff. So we used to take protein, and we used to go in the gym, and we would hit the gym hard. And then it used to be very, very immature, and we got more and more ripped in definitions. So then one day we put just our slips on like the Spartans, made little cloaks, grabbed weights, bar as a spear, and sit up Max's shields, and just raided the treatment room for Sparta. And all went running in thinking we were Spartans. Very, very silly. And then one time when the lads were all cute in the tunnel ready to go out, Rob Edwards, who is now Watford manager, from Forest Green, he was one of the Spartans. And as they're all lined up in the tunnel, he just shouted from behind one of the doors, "For Sparta! Spartans, what are we?" And then we were all going, "Hoo, hoo, hoo." You can see the opposition were like, what is this coming out of the tunnel? So we're very immature. We didn't have to grow up as footballers, but yeah, Spartan training, never ever. And we actually got banned from the gym because we got that big, and that ripped. Yeah, we got banned from the gym. So yeah, Javo, good guy, man.
Our last one is former Wolves manager Dave Jones,
Oh,
who says big, big and big. The first time I saw him, he was fantastic frame for goalkeeper, and then we saw his chicken legs. He'd worked so hard in the gym and was recovering from injuries, but forgot to work on his legs. Great lad, and could have been a top goalkeeper, but for injuries, I had to stop my daughters from marrying him.
Yeah. So we always have a bit of banter. So there's a few things. So he came in, and Dave was quite hard with us, and that, but it's because he saw what he believed in Jolie and Lescott, Lee Nail and myself, some young players that could go on and do well. So he was hard, that was his way. He wanted a reaction from you. I had been injured a lot, but one, it's genetics. I look at an upper body weight and I can put the size on. My legs are just skinny, that's it. But also, that was it. I was in the gym working hard, but for me, when you're a young kid, 16, 17, how am I meant to know?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? How am I meant to know what to do? So if I getting told, oh, I'm dealing with so-and-so and so-and-so, you go off and do your time. It's human nature to do what you're good at, or what you like. And also, if you had a knee operation, it hurts. So actually, he pulled me in and said, like, you need to get fit. So I said, well, I'm doing what they tell me to do. It's telling me to take painkillers and ice my knee, and I can't even straighten my leg. Still can't straighten his knee now. So I said, look, you let me go away and get fit, and let's see what happens. And I went away, got fit somewhere else. I was on the contract, and he gave me a debut. To play a young goalkeeper in a club of this size is brave, but yeah, there was always banter because my partner at the time was called Chloe. His daughter's called Chloe. So there was this rumour that I was engaged to a Chloe, and everyone decided I was engaged to a man's daughter. I'm thinking, wow, he doesn't like me as it is. And certainly if I date his daughter, I'm going to get beaten up even more. So, and all this stuff. So yeah, there's always that sort of banter. But Dave was a really good manager. He was the first manager to take us up. He could deal with a lot of big egos. He set us up. He got us promoted within 2 years. Obviously, he's blessed with his lovely family, and so that's where that rumour came from, that I was engaged to Dave Jones' daughter because I went out with Chloe. That was it.
Tom, number 18.
People say goalkeepers are a strange breed, and you have to be a certain type of person to be a goalkeeper. Would you agree with this?
See, I think I'm perfectly good, but all my teammates would probably say I'm a little bit different. I think we often go and train by ourselves. Everyone knows how to play in goal and tells you what to do, where actually it's a specialised position. People accuse us of ruining football. We're not footballers who do all the stuff, but the minute they haven't got a goalkeeper, that's probably why I never missed a day's training when I was young, because everyone wanted a goalkeeper for their session. You don't want to shoot in an empty net. You don't want small-sided games with no goals in, or do shooting drills with no goalkeeper. So that's why, and then you stand there on your own and you can have the best game for 89, 90 minutes, and then you make that one mistake. Whereas a striker, you can have the worst game in the world and score that one goal, and everyone talks about the one goal. Whereas a goalkeeper, you can be amazing all season or whatever, and you let that bad goal in that costs you, and that's the pressures. But don't have to run around in goal, do you? So that's all good. But yeah, so that's probably where that comes from. But I think I'm normal.
We have spoken to a number of goalkeepers on this podcast, such as Joe Hart, Paul Robinson and yourself. Can you talk to us about how the role of a goalkeeper is changing as they are becoming more like outfield players these days?
Yeah, it's evolving all the time, definitely the way. So when I actually first started playing in goal, you could still pick up a back pass, okay? And now the rule is when you take a goal kick, you can actually play it to your own player inside the box. So the rule's changing all the time. Everyone wants possession-based football, which starts with the goalkeeper. So when you work on the continent, so in Europe, the formation is 1-4-4-2, 1-3-5-2. The goalkeeper is seen as an outfield player, where in England we say, play 4-4-2 today, play 4-3-3 today. Like, the goalkeeper is not part of the team. So now the support positions, it's more what you have to do with the ball, so in possession. But also teams are playing with a lot higher lines now, so you have to protect the space with balls over the top. Obviously you're expected to be able to handle a ball and join in outfield and be left-footed, right-footed, like 2-foot players. Different build as well. As I say, Dave Jones liked me because I was big and bulky and come and take crosses. You don't have to do that as much now, especially at the high levels where they want longer, leaner, quicker goalkeepers. So probably me and Robbo would have struggled in this generation, whereas Joe Hart obviously still played at Celtic. He's very powerful in his quads, his glutes, but a very lean and strong upper body. So, and then the mentality side is still the same, and you are still a goalkeeper, and that is the bit that winds me up. You have to keep the ball out the net, and there's still too much emphasis. Oh, he's so good with his feet. Save the ball. Come and catch a cross and save the ball. And I don't care. It doesn't have to be a perfect team. Just keep the ball out the net. And I think a little bit of that's gone away, and that's why the top boys are brilliant in possession, but they make the save. So if you're Edison, Allison, Pope's an amazing goalkeeper. So that bit will never ever change, and you're always to blame. That bit's never changed.
What was your skills like with the football? Do you think you could be a goalkeeper in today's game and play for someone like Pep and the way he wants a goalkeeper to play?
So I think that if I'd have grown up doing it, then yeah, I think so, because I'd have practiced from a young age. But if you plonked goalkeeper now from my sort of time into Pep, no chance. I get a heart attack watching it. I'm like, wow, when Edison did that one the other day and the Liverpool striker slid in,
on the line,
and putting the ball on it, inviting the press. So for me, Edison is the most elite in possession goalkeeper there is. So doing that now, how I played, no, but if I'd have come through as a 9-year-old doing it to Edison's level, no, but could I have been competent? I think so, yeah. I think all the lads of our generation could have been, because we'd have been raised in a different way, but certainly not with how we were asked to play to do that. No, it would be very alien to us, I would say.
Is it true you used to have a pen pal from Germany?
Yes, Torsten Sobieski, yeah. And he came over when we played Southampton and we got beat 6-0, so I got golden glove. And he actually messaged me on my birthday the other day, so I got golden glove in that season, so I kept a lot of clean sheets. But the one game him and his sister Maren came over for, got beat 6-0, and I was stood in that goal looking at him thinking, what is going on here? He stayed at my house, I had to take him out for food, and I didn't want to go out for food, I didn't want to eat anything, and for me to be put off my food, I'm not happy. And Torsten Sobieski, yeah.
Looking back at your career, you had a number of managers at Wolves. Is there a certain manager that stands out for you as being the best, and if so, why?
All very, very good managers for different reasons. Obviously said about Dave Jones, first time Wolves got promoted, and good with the different egos of characters, but the one I felt got the best out of me, and sort of did really well with Wolves in a different way, is Mick McCarthy. Yeah. I think McCarthy's awesome. I think his human side is brilliant. Obviously with a small budget, never blamed anyone else, got players in, found players, made them better. Kitely, Jarvis, Fletcher, Edwards, I don't know, loads from lower leagues that went on to become established Premier League players. So Mick McCarthy, and he kept Wolves in the Premier League for 3 years. So let's be honest, 3 years in the Premier League is not bad. So yeah, absolutely awesome, super Mick, man, legend.
Talk to us about your decision to retire. Was it a difficult one, or had all those injuries taken their toll on you?
Yeah, the injuries are taking a toll. So it's still a really, really difficult when it actually happens. You know it's coming, but it's very daunting. All you've ever done, you leave school at 16. Best wishes, Matt Murray. You're going to eat this day, your day off's then, you play then, you do this, you get paid that, blah, blah, blah. Suddenly, right, you're not a footballer anymore. So there's a relief when you know you keep breaking down and your body hurts and you're doing stuff and someone takes it out of your hands, so you haven't actually quit yourself. Especially Scopes, you can't do anymore. You want to have a knee replacement by the time you're 36, 37, or you're going to still be a dad and be able to go to the park and do stuff. Then I'm saying to you, you've done everything you can, you've given it your all, but for me you'll never be able to, your body won't handle the rigours of professional sport, but you can still have a decent quality of life. So it's daunting, scary. The Wolves were great, so there's a lot of emotions going on, but then you've got no choice. Face the fear, do it anyway, get out there, what will be will be. But when, as I said, you have this projection of like, and you assume roles in a family. So like, I was the one, you earn good money, you're a footballer, so when you go out, I pay the bill, or I pay for the holidays to do this and that, and it's like, maybe that's not there. And when your mum and dad just hug you and say, look, we just love you, we don't want any other son, we're good for you, but we love you as Matt the Wolves goalkeeper, we love you as Matt doing Sky Sports, we love you as Matt doing, you know, if you want to come and train to be a teacher, if you want to go and do this and that, we love you, that's it, we don't want any other son. Whereas you have that sort of perception of, I am a professional footballer, I'm this guy in our family, and do you know what, if you can't pick up the bill at the end of the thing or whatever, you can't. But it's just hard when all your mates are still playing for their countries, playing in the Premier League, and you're done in your head, you think you're getting at least 35, but 29, done.
You then made your move into being a pundit after you retired. How did that move come about?
You sort of reap what you sow a little bit. So whenever I was a player, I'd always, see, like I'm here now, you give your time, you do your stuff, and my parents always said you got to remember people on the way up as well on the way down. So when you are on the way up and you're playing all the time and Sky Sports want to do that interview or talk sport or do whatever, and you take that little bit of time and you wait behind after training, then when opportunities arise and you need them, they go, oh, do you want to come and do Sky? We always thought you spoke well on Sky, or you were nice and you did this and do that. And that's how it all came about. And Wolves were good. They said, look, you're injured, you can go and do the live game, you can go and do Soccer Saturday, Soccer Special, slots opened up. And you get nervous and you get a fear, but I always got this mentality, what's the worst that can happen? Go and do it anyway. So if you do your coaching badge, you like coaching. And by the way, the first time you stand there with that whistle, you've got to take a coaching session, it's like that. Or you the same when you first time you take a classroom, you're like, oh, I've done all this training, but actually no, I'm in charge here. And it's nerve-wracking. It's the first time you run out there, it's nerve-wracking. So all these things, but I was just one of them, what's the worst that can happen? So I tried Sky, I tried Talk Sport, I did my coaching badge, I did all these different things and transitioned into it. And what am I, 11, 12, 13 years later, still doing Sky Sports and hanging in there with my grey hairs and doing my makeup and everything else. But if you're getting paid to play football's the best, but to coach it, do it as a pundit.
You should remind me of makeup. There's the video of you on Soccer AM, isn't there? Where they take the nick out of you for looking at yourself and
jawline chiseled like granite, skin nice and hydrated. Yeah. So basically, you have an earpiece in, and you have a monitor in front of you. So I'm not live; they're running something else, and they go in. So they go in. Either you've got some grey fluff or grey hairs. We're not sure. So, but when you look in the TV, if you turn that way, you actually turn that way. Does that make sense? So I'm trying to find it, and I'm talking back to my producer through my microphone, but it looks like I'm just looking at it. So someone scrolled through that, it was off there, they put the voiceover on, and yeah, and when it made the Christmas bloopers, because most of the time you get away with it, because the lads are playing and training, and we played, but when it was on the Christmas bloopers, my phone blew up. Yeah. Cool.
We played a quickfire game with the Sky Sports cricket team of Nasser Hussain, Michael Atherton, David Lloyd and Rob Key, where we asked them about their Sky Sports mates. So we wanted to do the same with you and the Sky Sports football pundits. We will ask you a range of questions about your colleagues and you have to give us the answer.
No pressure. Right. Here we go. Go on and fire away.
Who would you take on a night out?
Ooh. Cammy. Chris Kamara. He just can talk to anyone, banter, can go karaoke. He's just like a chameleon. He can adapt to any surroundings. Really, really good fun. Nicest guy. They're all great, but yeah, I'd have to say Chris Kamara.
Who would be the last to buy a round of drinks?
I don't know actually, because it's a bit of a... Before it would have been Paul Walsh. We always used to have banter for him. So he did the sweepstake, but Walsh hasn't done Sky for a bit now. But Walshy would have been the one. But apart from that, I would honestly say actually everyone fights to get to the bar first, and we usually go out as a group and then just we run a tab and then split the tab now between us. So I can honestly say it's more the other way. Everyone's who would be last at the bar because everyone's always trying to be first. You know, if they are like Jeff or whatever, very, very generous people. So I honestly can't really embarrass someone with that one.
Who would you want to travel the world with?
Different ways. So if you go with Neil Mellor, you know you're going to be very, very organised and everything's going to be on point, and you get there and you just have a full itinerary and do it and it'll be organised. If you want it to be a bit more haphazard, let's see what happens and let's just go with the flow, be Paul Merson. Yeah, I can imagine Merce, just so many stories, cracking you up, recognised by everyone, really, really good fun. Again, they're all interesting characters for different reasons. Clinton Morrison would certainly make it lively as well. But yeah, I'd say for a proper educational one, Neil Mellor. For just a wild one, has to be Magic Man Paul Merson.
You ever got into a fight? Who do you want to back you up?
Well, I say you don't like fighting. From Sky Sports, probably Graham Souness or something like that. He's probably a bit older than your generation. Souness in his prime, be pretty tough. Imagine he'd be able to handle himself, but I think out of the whole panel, I'm probably the biggest.
So yeah, you feel like that.
But you know what? Never had a fight. Say I've had a fight as a kid and all that stuff. But on a serious note, as a big man, always been able to walk away from it, talk my way out of it. But again, because you're all just people, you don't talk about it, do you? You just look all nice and chilled. Probably if it was any of my teammates from back in the day, it'd probably be Nathan Blake or Carl Ikemi. But because Carl does all the jiu-jitsu and Blakey just was quite handy. But all the Sky guys are saying we just eat jelly babies, drink coffee, and chill. So yeah, hopefully we never get in a fight, put it that way.
You are on the TV show Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. Who would you want as your phone friend?
Definitely not Lee Naylor. Is this Sky pundits? Yeah. Oh, sorry, just Sky. I thought his teammates. Oh, sorry. Ooh, I think you'd have to go Gary Neville, wouldn't you? He seems so clever, so intelligent. I think he's an unbelievable pundit. I love listening to him. So I'd either say David Jones, the anchor. Jeff Stelling seems knowledged up, but if it had to be like a player pundit, then I'm going to say Gary Neville. He does politics and everything.
He seems to do everything.
Yeah,
He does it.
He's so clever, Gary Neville. So yeah, Gary Neville.
He seems, from what people say and from what we see on TV, like the opposite of what he was as a player. Like now he seems very political, and he's on every TV show. He does his own podcast. He does this and does this.
And I wonder if Gary Neville, looking back at it, because he is so articulate, because he is so intelligent, because he is so respected and such a big name, would he think, if I had my time again as a player, I'd be a great voice, because for me, I love him as a pundit. Could listen to him all day.
Like him and Carragher make a great team.
Yeah.
What is your favourite thing about being a pundit?
Yeah, I love watching football. So I always say this: fans go and watch their team. They pay to travel there. They pay for their ticket. They pay for their food. They do all these things, emotionally invested. And sometimes a team can get slapped 5-0, and it ruins the rest of the week. Whereas we get driven there, or cars, provided for us, great seats, everything, all the stats. You're watching it. If you're in the warmth, you get food being brought to you. It's just brilliant. So I just think the fact that you can get into near enough any game, and let's be honest, you're getting paid to watch football. Brilliant. So it doesn't feel like work because you love your job.
A few more.
You also work for Unique Sports Management and support current players. Is that a role you enjoy, and what do you have to do?
We have to go and find young players, and obviously established players as well. Try and pitch to them and say, look, me and my company can help you and add value to you, and do the right thing and grow with you, and put a plan together and help you in all ways. So 360 management, so we can help you with social media, your contracts, your transfers, your negotiations. Just try and take every distraction away from you and make sure that you've been the best you can be and maximise it. I know my weaknesses, I know my strengths, I've been through things as a player, but there'll be someone that I can find to help you and guide the family and work with the family. But you have to identify talent that you believe in. So it's hard work, it's competitive, it's relentless. It can sometimes go hand in hand because you need to go and watch games and see players. But yeah, I'm proud of the company that I'm involved with. There's lots of other really, really good agencies out there. And the only bit that hurts is when people say, oh, agents this, agents that. Good agents add really good value, and I'd like to think that a lot of the lads I work with would say, do you know what, I've helped add to their career and help their families, as I say, and want to do the right thing by them. So it's so many different facets to being an agent, but I do really, really enjoy it. And again, keeps me in football. Playing is the best. Nothing beats playing. It's a selfish thing, but when you're playing, you're fit, you're strong, you're out there every day, you've got nets on the goal, all the balls, your kit wash, your boots done. Playing in front of 1,000 people is the best job in the world. But if you can coach a player, you know what it's like. You do something with a pupil, and then it comes off.
Yeah.
It's the best feeling. It's an amazing feeling. And when you've sat down with a family and gone, right, we're going to do this, this and this, right, that's your contract. Or we're moving you. I've just moved a boy to Manchester United. 16 years of age. And there's another one, 16 years of age to Manchester City. You sit down with the family and they're going, we love it where we are, but we feel if we're going to go to the next levels, we need to be this environment, that environment. I think your son's really, really good. Let me make some phone calls. Let's put a plan together. You ring a few people, next thing, right, you're going to be at Old Trafford next week. It's all agreed. Clubs are agreed. Personal terms are agreed. Do you want to be a Manchester United player? And you've got the messages going, oh my days. My son is now a Manchester United player. Yeah. And now, getting into the first team is the hardest bit. We've done this bit. So that's a very, very nice feeling when you've played a part and someone getting to where they want to get to.
Do you think sometimes, like looking at agents at the top level at United, City, Madrid, there's this thing with Mbappe and Pogba recently, that agents appear to the public to kind of get too involved and demand huge fees and demand this? Does sometimes agents make it more difficult at times?
No. So I think that they work for the player. So, and sometimes they'll work for clubs will use agents to work for them. There's so many different jobs that agents do, but it's about knowing the value of your player and getting the most of the player. So the regulations are the regulations, not breaking the law. It's about putting a plan together and maximising things for your client and getting the best thing. And they'll have been on a long, long journey, but to get an Mbappe, a Pogba, a Ronaldo, that's a unicorn. There's not many out there, are there really? Most agents work with good players. Yeah. There's a lot of difficulty, but they're working for. You can't earn off a player till they're 18 years of age. So you'll sign a player in the year of his 16th birthday and go on all that journey and all that stuff. They might leave you, or they might not make it. So it's a lot of hours, a lot of time that go into it. So of course there are some super agents who do great, great things, but the clubs know what they're doing. And if they're prepared to pay it and they're prepared to do it, so I understand why from the outside looking in, but as long as they've not done over Pogba, done over Mbappe, as long as all the clubs speak together and there's the stuff, then because clubs quite often, if they don't want to play, they'll do things. So it's a bit of everything. It's just not all having its own way, and the club's having all the power, or the players having all the power. But it's a lot more complicated than that. But lots of agents as well will be putting that money that they're earning into other young players coming through, hoping that they become the next generation coming through. So it's all regulated. Everything will be there what they've earned. Taxes paid, all the stuff's paid. So I only know how I work, and I believe that I work for my players with the best integrity, and I'd always say that I wouldn't do anything for them that I wouldn't do for my own son. So that's the best moral I can go with.
What are your thoughts on the current Wolves squad, and how can they do next season?
I think this is probably one of the biggest windows in a long, long time with Wolves. I think Wolves fantastically well. As I said, when I first came to Wolves, it was trying to get into the Premier League or just stay in the Premier League. We're trying to break top 6, top 4, and that's difficult. So I think there'll be transition. Martinho, Ruddy's gone. What will Neves do? Jimenez. There's so many players that you're thinking could be the change. So I'd like us to do our work early. If we're going to sell Traore, sell him, do all that sort of stuff. Get the players out, get the players in. But I do think there probably could be a good 5 or 6 players this window. I think the current squad's brilliant. Done lots and lots of good stuff, but I do feel we need that transition now. Centre back and midfielder, another striker. But it depends who goes out and who comes in. But it's just going to be so difficult to just kick on to that next bit.
Wolves have been very consistent over recent years and finishing the top 10 most seasons. What do they need to break up into the top 16? Top 6, I mean.
Top 6, yeah. I say now it's just so difficult because I think Liverpool and Man City have played a different sport. They're gone. To bridge that gap's crazy. I think if the new Chelsea ownership happens quickly, I think they still feel like they've had a disappointing season, but the FA Cup lost on penalties, League Cup lost on penalties, won the Super Cup, Champions League lost to Real Madrid and finished 3rd in the Premier League. So if they get some additions, they're probably going to go again. So I just feel, let's see how Ten Hag does. I think Conte's top at Tottenham, so they've got in. So I just feel that I think Leicester will go again. So I just it takes money to get there. You need that little bit of luck. But as I say, I just hope we've got some really, really good targets and keep players fit. No Europe distractions, but yeah, it's just about recruitment. But it's, as I say, to break into that last bit, so hard, and there'll be so many other clubs thinking they're there or thereabouts. But to say that we're an established top 10 club does show you how far this club's gone.
We would like to play a quick fire game with you called Wrong Answers Only. We will ask you a number of different questions and you have to give us the wrong answers only. Do you understand?
Sort of, go on.
What is your name?
Chris. Is that what you mean?
Yeah. What is the best stadium you've played at?
Colchester.
What is your favourite food?
Curry.
The best thing about Matt Murray is?
His legs.
The highlight of your career is?
Losing to Albion.
The best thing about the Molineux Stadium is?
So it's got to be a lie. The away fans.
Finish the sentence. Matt Murray is?
So we're lying. Handsome. Got a grey head of hair.
Every week on the podcast, we like our guests to ask questions to each other. So we get a guest to ask a question, but they have no idea who the question is going to be for. This week's question comes from our previous guest, who was former England cricket captain Adam Hollyoake. He asks, Do you have a motto that you live your life by?
Yeah, so I have a few values, as I say. So a saying that I really, really like, that Mick McCarthy sort of brought into us when we were battling to stay in the Premier League, was don't accept good over best. So that's something that I always try. You know what I mean? I always try and give my best. Yeah, it can be good, but no, is it my best? So I'll always be the best I can be. That's the sort of mantra that I go by. And then a big value, as I said, is whether I coached or an agency or whatever I do, never ever make a decision for somebody else's child that you wouldn't want for your own. And I think that's, if I can look a parent in the eyes, I'm doing it for the best intentions. Of course, do I want to make money or do I want to do things? Yeah, but I know that if someone made that decision for my son, I'd be cool with it. Then there are a couple of big things that I do go by.
Last one.
Could you do the same, please? Can you think of a question for our next guest, please? But we aren't going to tell you who the guest is. The question can be anything you want.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a sports person.
So it's going to be for a sports person.
Yeah.
I think about routine. So I'd ask them, how much does routine play a part in their life? I think that's a lot of sports people like their routine. So yeah, how much is and what is their routine maybe?
Yeah, I need a very good consistent routine as well.
Yeah. And how do you feel when it's?
I get unsettled.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is hard, but I have to try and keep it as consistent as possible.
Yeah.
So
just control what you can control.
Yeah.
But it throws you, doesn't it?
If
it's out, and it's difficult because saying there that we spoke before, didn't we? That my next door neighbour, his son's autistic, so he doesn't with lights. Is a big thing for him. Is that anything for you guys? He doesn't like bright lights.
Yeah.
It can be, for lots of children with autism.
Yeah. And then he's always talking to me about films. Have you got anything that you're really, really into?
For me, even though how many times I watched it, I just never get off Spider-Man.
Okay.
Yeah.
You need to meet my son then. He loves Spider-Man. He's Marvel daft. He loves Spider-Man. Hulk's his number one, but he'd watch Spider-Man every day with you, no problem.
Yeah.
What about you?
I'm a big Jaws fan.
Okay, wow, that scares the life out of me.
Yeah, I mean, because coincidentally on the podcast we chatted to Carl Gottlieb, and he was the executive writer and producer for it. So it's really good. I'm a chance to talk to him. But yeah, I'm Jaws mad. It's one of those movies that I don't mind watching over and over again.
Yeah.
Good fun movie.
Do that, yeah. Because I was saying as well, I had a player, a teammate of mine, and no one knew, but he's said now that he's autistic, and it was interesting why he'd clashed with quite a lot of coaches, and he's saying, looking back at it, he may be, because you should probably get him on. I should give you his number. Because it'd be really interesting to see why he didn't feel he could say that he had autism, and if that played a part, why every single window he moved.
Yeah.
Every window. And I got on great with him. It was great lad. But I don't know if there were certain bits that you're going to play left back, and then you get him put here just at the last minute, or we're going to play back three, and I don't know. That might be me being ignorant, and that's what I think as well. I do think there's an ignorance that we do our coaching badges, and we gradually talk about more and more things. So racism now gets covered, didn't used to be. We do a lot about things you can and can't say with diversity. But again, I've never ever in my coaching badge has it ever been touched upon. No. How you would certain things if you wanted to work with a player, because there will be a lot of autism.
I think one of the things, autism is a hidden disability, so these boys autistic or everyone at school's autistic, you wouldn't know. No. So I think being autistic, you need that structure, you need that routine, and you're right, football doesn't give you structure, doesn't give you routine in terms of, you could move position, you could play one week, not next week. So maybe that's why he did move about, and
spoke to Thomas Henley. Was it Thomas Henley, the taekwondo?
Yeah, you spoke to Ty. He won the gold medal, didn't he?
That's right.
He
The
was autistic.
Commonwealth Games. 'Cause he's autistic as well.
Yeah.
And he spoke. He had to leave because we said that's fair. Can you didn't sort of carry on? He said he just couldn't cope with the way the team ran. It wasn't neurodiverse friendly.
Yeah, and that's what I would say. That would be something that would be well worth knowing, you know, for sure. But is that okay if you got? I don't shut up, do I? I can talk for fun.
Yeah, so Tom, do you want to just end it? And so
Yeah. I would just like to say a big thank you again to everyone who listens to our podcast. We really appreciate it. Please continue to leave reviews and pass our podcast on to your friends and family. Thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us today, Matt. We really appreciate and enjoyed speaking with you, and it means so much to us as a school to be able to have the opportunity to speak with you. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, and thanks for having me on, and really enjoyed it, and good luck for the next one, and keep up the good work.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Thank you.